Great. So I'm here with Martin Saar. He's an Estonian artist, painter, and does drawing. What else would you say you do?
Photography, drawing, painting, music videos.
Great. So we took a look. The concept is about how we can teach, influence, and culturally deliver information and ideas to artists in an informal way, and how we can use our connections and our network to inform you and to help you achieve more of your artistic entrepreneurship. So one of the things I thought about is, in looking at your practice, is that there's a tremendous business that has functioned in artistic books. Artist original books that have maybe one original drawing in it, and there's limited edition, like 50 books. And they have one signed piece, and they go to all these book fairs. PS1, Berlin, Finland, Sweden, Brussels, France, and these book fairs are really getting quite huge. And what you see is, you see a lot of artists that nobody's ever heard of because they just sit at home and make these like handmade books. And the cost for the books is quite high in relation to even like an artwork. And I found like a number of things in your work, like your paintings of famous people, which I think make gorgeous like postcard-like pieces. And I think like as an amazing little book, maybe one of them could be a hand painting, and maybe there's only 10 with a hand painting insert. And have you ever considered something like that?
For the last 10 years, yeah. But it's still just like, it's I haven't like finalized it yet.
What's the challenge there?
I guess the end product. Because I've been bounding some of the books myself, but they're more like for a sketchbook. And
right.
then, like the content, you know, like what to show, and it's like most of my things are very.
Maybe then the idea is to bring a couple of things into place, like curatorial, like bring someone who looks at your work and says these things would look great, a book designer, and I happen to know a guy named Antonio, and he runs in Berlin something called Self-Publish Be Happy, and they started doing all the fairs, and they're like taking off. And he also has a fair called the $100 Fair, and he has an illustration by artists, and they have a wall, and they sell these illustrations for $100 from different artists, and they all get bought actually. And it's been moving across Germany and across Europe now. And I thought that I should introduce you to him, because he's actually designing Kiva's book for me, which is a limited edition, the book Nothing. I don't know if you've seen it.
It's just the title.
Nothing? Yeah, that's good. And so I thought that you should definitely do something, because I actually think your work would sell quite magnificently in that book format, because it's becoming so popular. And your stuff is so graphic and illustrative as well. And so I thought that that would be a really good sort of side market that wouldn't be so difficult and take much of your time, and we could team you up with people who already do that. So, you know, it would help put some focus, and, you know, you're going, okay, what do I bind it with? How do I print it? And there's really easy and functional ways to put that into practice. Is that sort of interest?
I love it, yeah. It's being like one of those things that it's like, okay, I'll just, you know, have to do.
How do you do it and what?
Yeah.
And then there's the other thing I thought about is how great and illustrative some of your paintings are with famous people, and the idea of sort of identities, and there's in Estonia, I know, like, you know, there's a number of newspapers and columns, and they started doing more, looking for more illustrative work. And so, you know, you could do a, you know, an illustration, even a drawing of like the president or the prime minister, and submit it to the paper for their use. And what that does is it further exposes you in the use of media. So it's kind of like buying yourself press kits, you know, and you could do some famous pop singer, for example, or a singer in Estonia, and submit it to one of the sort of more fashion or styling magazines to build more sort of press outlets in a way. Because a lot of times people want to, you know, they like the idea of press kits or showing, you know, sort of the, that there's exposure in various places, and it's like free advertising in a way which draws attention back to your work. Have you ever thought about anything like that? Because your work's so strong for that. Like even something like in the New York Times, they have a competition like once a year where they have the page that has, what is it? They have just a page that's like it's the premiere issue, and they take artist submissions to do the front page, which is some people, you know, take photographs of M&Ms and write the New York Times and do something. Some people paint, some people do like illustration and stuff like that's really amazing, because if you win that, then all of a sudden you have the front cover of the New York Times. And a lot of the people that win that are artists people never heard of. And then they go on to sell a tremendous amount of work after that. Because people are like, who's that? And they look, and there's a little piece on a portrait of the artist. And I thought your stuff would translate so well in that format, because it's that whole world of, you know, sort of digital engagement, for example, of because it translates both in print and in terms of content online. And it's not that time consuming in a way, because they're smaller pieces rather than, you know, pieces that take like months and months and months to do. Maybe a nice break. And you know, kind of something that's great. And I thought, you know, and I thought about that too, and I thought, well, you know, there's a number of people, like in this project I'm doing in New York, on the water tank project, which is also in alignment to the Academy. And I thought, now we're working with a lot of famous people who are ambassadors to the project, like Sarah Jessica Parker and, you know, Carolyn Murphy and Juliana Margulies and a number of actors. And CAA is coming in to give us a big thing of sort of famous actors. And we were thinking like, okay, well, what could we orchestrate together for a water tank that maybe embodies some of the water ambassadors? Because then what I can do is cross-promote you, because then all of a sudden you're doing something of, say, Sarah Jessica Parker or whoever, you know, Matt Damon. And that becomes part of a tank motif. And everyone sees it because it's Matt Damon or whoever. And that draws all this media attention back to your work. So I was thinking in context to, that's a connection I have personally, about how I can, you know, sort of tie those things in towards the project. And even Vanity Fair for like illustrations and stuff, you know, Bob, and that could be sort of something that could be brought, you know, that sometimes they have the little illustrations, the drawings, you know, you see the editor grading with a little drawing, stuff like that. And by looking at the drawing that you're doing, I mean, I think, wow. I mean, it's really good work. And I love that these are, you know, art students, you know, in the faces of, you know, a major work, for example. So I think this is something that I think you could really evolve in, actually. And, you know, doing a little portrait that's this big for a magazine or an online magazine could be quite cool, actually. Because there's so many online mediums and everybody's sick of photos, right? They want illustrations, they want drawings, a little painting, because it's image, digital photo image, and after a while you see 1,000 of them. It's like, show me something different. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And even like, Eric, I mean, you could draw him and every newspaper will take it because, he's politically forging forward. And so just to sort of, and it could be even someone funny, you could, like, on our website, we have like drawings of all the artists. We could align you to draw one of the, some of the artists, for example, or all of them. Right now we have stand-in images, and actually that's a great idea. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
We actually, the Illustrator School and a number of schools approached us to do drawings of all the artists. And we thought, well, that'll be great because we can make little original pieces. We can send them to the artist, like Jeff Koons at Boucher, all that. So maybe you should do it.
How many artists?
60.
By when?
We'll give you time. We'll be flexible. No, we can give you time, actually.
Yeah, let's think about it. That sounds good.
That's a good one. And then with the book thing, back to the book thing, that could be something that's also put in museums. How they sell artist books there too. I have a connection like with the new museum and the Kuma Museum. And there's another revenue source for you in terms of something that sits in those places, gives you exposure, gets you sales, and furthers the sort of ideas of furthering the